I would now like to introduce you to our presenters today. Today we have Kevin Hall, Vice President and General Manager of Omnitrac's RoadNet, and we are pleased to have Roderick Massey with us today. Rod is Senior Transportation Analyst at FreshDirect. So Kevin, let's go ahead and get started.
Great. Thank you very much, Tara, and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. I think it's a very interesting topic. I'm delighted to have Rod on here with me. So what I was going to do is really kick things off a little bit. I'm always one who likes to not just know the what, but the why. And I think that a lot of what we're going to be talking about today and some of the things that Rod's doing, very interesting things, is very much in response to kind of what some of the trends in the marketplace are, what some of the demands that are being put on it by customers and so forth, and what some of the most kind of innovative companies are doing to capitalize on the opportunities of leveraging technology. So as mentioned, I'm going to kick things off, talk a little bit about market trends, what we're seeing around customer expectations, how that's changing, and then turn to some of the specifics around kind of delivery scheduling and opportunities, challenges, how technology can help. Rod's going to talk, about his company and how they're using technology and then the types of results they're achieving, and then we'll open it up for a few questions and answers. So with that, one of the I think the thing that's kind of most fundamental to speak to is kind of what's going on in the overall transportation and business landscape. And one of the things that's happened in recent years as we've kind of come out of the Great Recession is that companies have moved towards really a much greater focus on growing their business. And this is something that they can accomplish in different ways, but some of the key ways that companies try and achieve this is to do not only to attract new customers, but also do a better job than their competitors in terms of actually retaining customers, because it's often easier to retain a customer than it is to find a new one. And so big focus on things that will help them grow and kind of maintain their business. When we look at actual supply chain executives and you interview them and ask them what they're focusing on, it aligns very nicely to that very high emphasis on growth. And as you can see here, some research from Gartner, in recent years during the kind of the current period, a big focus on supply chain executives knowing that their big priority of theirs is around growth itself. When we look at technology, kind of one level down, where are companies investing today? It's interesting to look at the types of things that the supply chain technology executives look at. So top on the list are things like business analytics, so better understanding kind of what's going on, how are they performing, and then doing things to kind of optimize and be able to trace what's going on in the supply chain. So being able to essentially make their supply chain more efficient, being able to have a better idea of kind of tracking kind of what's going on, and be able to trace kind of from beginning to end kind of what happened or what didn't happen, so that then they can use that as a mechanism to continue to improve upon what they're doing. And of course, to the extent that they can be more efficient and more effective, that can then translate into being able to kind of grow, as I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. Another big trend, and this is more on the consumer side that we see, is huge trends in mobility. There's been in recent years dramatic growth in the use of mobile devices. I was listening to kind of some of the stats actually on the radio the other day, and they're saying that the majority of online purchases are even occurring through smartphone types of devices in the last year. That's up dramatically over a couple of years ago, where most online purchases were still occurring via website. and even via website is a fairly recent trend relative to, the traditional way that people would often buy things a few years ago. So the whole movement towards mobility has really, and people seeing that they can get information in very real time. They can act upon things in very real time. This kind of, the trend towards mobility and the applications that are available through them and so forth has really kind of raised the bar and set expectations for what consumers want to be able to do when they're interacting and buying things. So that's kind of a general trend. The other thing, though, I think that is interesting is we've got some other dynamics that are going on, and Rod's going to talk a bit about Fresh Direct specifically. But as we look at kind of this, higher and higher expectations that consumers have, this is kind of showing up in a variety of different ways. We see things like Uber, where people want to be able to on-demand, hail a car or a taxi to take them to where they want to go in a very simple, easy, efficient way. Increasingly, people want things delivered in more real time, more quickly, and more on their terms. We even see things like, certain companies out there that are talking about using things like drones to make deliveries in a very kind of personalized way. And while that's still, I think, a little bit out in the future in terms of its major adoption, I think that it does reflect the idea of kind of this push towards more and more tailored, more and more personalized, more and more on-demand types of delivery of products and services. One of the reasons why I think that it's so important that companies kind of understand these trends and kind of ongoing march towards providing higher and higher customer services, that to the extent that companies can actually do that, they can deliver upon that promise, it actually can result in very significant improved financial results for a given company. I'm going to show you a couple different types of data here which I help reinforce this. One is that for companies that provide good customer service, what it results in is a very high percentage of people that recommend that product or that company to others. It leads to a much higher usage of that product or service. So rather than using it once or twice, they tend to be very regular users. Secondly, to the extent that there's other solutions or products available, it tends to be where they go first to look for those next products or services as opposed to somewhere else. So the bottom line is that, to the extent that companies can provide better customer service, it will yield some very significant results, even among the existing customer base in terms of they're using that company more and then recommending that company to other people, which can be a very powerful kind of marketing effect for organizations. The other really interesting thing when you look at data around customer service is that companies can actually charge more for providing better customer service. And this may seem obvious to people, but to some it's not so obvious. And then, well, it'll just help me in some of these areas. It will actually help you. You can actually charge more. You can charge a premium to the extent that you provide better customer service, because customer service is valuable to people. And this is just, again, a study where it looked at what percentage of a premium can you provide if you provide superior customer service. Right? So as we can see here, the premium can be quite large to the extent that people are willing to pay, in some cases, a 25% premium to the extent that they have better customer service delivered to them. So kind of bringing this back and talking about how this ties back to kind of the business that we're all in and what the opportunities for delivering upon this kind of better customer service, a more efficient delivery at the same time. What does this mean? Well, one of the interesting things is that when you look at what a lot of our customer base represents today, a lot of them are private fleets. And when you actually ask, okay, well, why are they private fleets? Why are they private fleets? Why aren't they using for-hire delivery and distribution? And when you talk to companies and you drill into this topic, there's a couple of interesting things that come out. One is that for a lot of our customers today, they will say things like, well, the people that make the delivery are the face of the company. And so we want to make sure that they, given that they're the face of the company, they're the impression of the company, we know how important that is, that they have a good experience, that we have ability to kind of manage and control and ensure that that resource is actually providing the level of customer service that we want them to provide. The other thing that's really interesting, though, and this is kind of data that there's research that's done by the National Private Truck Council, which is the organization that represents kind of private fleets, if you will. And here this data shows quite clearly that, you know, the single biggest reason by a large margin that companies have private fleets is to provide that superior level of customer service. So, you know, again, what we see here is there's a very kind of nice kind of confluence between a desire by customers in the market to have improved customer service while still doing that in an efficient way, and the kind of orientation of private fleets in particular to meeting this objective. And so there's a real opportunity here to kind of bring those things together. Okay, well, how can private fleets or organizations perhaps that aren't private fleets, but how can these organizations, what can they do to actually achieve these goals from kind of a solution standpoint? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about specifically the range of kind of RoadNet technologies that can help with this. I'll touch on them very briefly. The RoadNet part of Omnitrax is a part that is focused on, very much focused on concept of optimization, the ability to provide deliveries in an efficient and appropriate levels of customer service. And so we see an example of some of the kind of solutions that help focus on that. Some of them are more about providing route planning and that are attended by an actual router. Others are focused more at enabling the end user, the customer, to be able to schedule things. And then we've got technologies that allow very much kind of a tracking. If you recall the point that I brought up earlier on, you know, there's a big interest around traceability and tracking. So technologies that allow one to track kind of where one stands with regard to their deliveries so that you can know, are you actually delivering as to plan or not, and what might you do about it? And then finally, technologies focused around kind of information analytics focused internally within the organization, as well as information being pushed out to the customer to give them better, more timely information in line with the types of things we're all getting accustomed to do through our smartphones and so forth. So again, Rod's going to talk a little bit more about the scheduling aspects and how he's using scheduling technology today. But you know, one of the big things, big trend here is around how can you empower the customer to be able to determine, you know, how and when do they want something delivered, and to the extent that there's options available, maybe even help them understand the consequences of choosing something during a different time slot than another, so that you can allow them to do that, while at the same time doing this in a way where you don't put yourself at risk of going out of business, right? So, you know, if you there are ways to leverage optimization where you basically give customers a choice of cost-efficient delivery times and windows, and kind of allow you to have your cake and eat it too. Allow them to achieve their goals while at the same time, as a business, not putting yourself in a position where, you know, you're going to be highly unprofitable delivering to them. And part of this is about, you know, not only exposing the ability of the consumer to interact with the system, but also having the system be intelligent enough to, you know, do things like continuously optimize and continue to look for ways to continue to improve upon the routes and the delivery times and so forth that you might be delivering with them. I talked about solutions that focus around kind of interacting with the customer from a communication standpoint. So, in addition to the fact that we can enable customers to actually schedule when and how do they want something delivered, the other thing that increasingly people want to know of all types is, okay, where's my stuff? How am I doing? When is it going to arrive here? And not just within broad time windows, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours during the day. Increasingly, people want to know in a pretty specific way, where do things stand? Because stuff happens. I mean, you may have a scheduled delivery time, of within an hour or 2 hours, but traffic accidents occur and so forth. And so this then, puts a premium upon how do you deliver information that's very, very timely, accurate, personalized. And this is where some of the technologies come into play that can take advantage of what the plan is, the planned delivery time, what's actually happening by tracking, being able to trace and track exactly what's going on at any given point in time. And as something may fall outside of the given window, you can notify the customer, or as you're getting ready to make the delivery, right, as you're approaching, you're 15, 30 minutes away, whatever it might be, you can actually notify that customer in a very accurate manner so that they can be there available to make the delivery, not only kind of reduce your time at a given stop, but also be able to ensure that, the delivery actually occurs and you aren't having to redeliver because someone's not there ready to take that order. So the whole proactive customer communication is something. Talked a bit about kind of the whole kind of back-end dispatch and tracking capability. Again, this is something that is something that we do quite extensively today that allows our customers to kind of track exactly what's going on in real time and then make adjustments as necessary as things happen, as accidents occur, as trucks break down, whatever it might be. Increasingly, there's a need to be able to react in very, very real time. And one of the ways that this can be done is by giving operators on the back end, whoever they might be, customer service reps, routers, operational people, the ability to identify and pinpoint problems that may be occurring. A given vehicle may be running behind schedule for some reason, and be able to then look at information, or see something that's going to happen or is in the process of happening, so that some kind of some action can be taken to address that if possible. So I really, I didn't want to get into a lot of kind of the solution detail here, but I did want to give you a sense of some of the things that are available from a solution standpoint that address different aspects of this, delivering an efficiently while also providing another level of customer service. With that, what I'd like to do is turn the floor over to Rod, who's going to talk us through specifically, what FreshDirect is doing today, how they're using some of the solutions that I talked about to accomplish their objectives. Rod?
Thanks, Kevin. I work with FreshDirect. I've been with FreshDirect about 9 years, and I led the project to select and implement the RoadNet scheduler. And so I wanted to focus today on the specific element of the scheduler that allows us to do self-service delivery scheduling for our customers. And to be clear what I'm talking about, this is where through a web storefront, which is what FreshDirect uses as the only way to interact with our customers, we present them at checkout the ability to select the time slot that the delivery will arrive in. And so that's the difference between the nature of our online business and perhaps a different way of doing business where someone would call a customer service agent and schedule a delivery or be given a delivery time. So at FreshDirect, just a little background, we are a grocer, and we provide next-day home delivery of groceries in the New York City and Philadelphia metro regions. The basic delivery structure is that the customer can select a 2-hour delivery time slot, and actually in some areas it may be 1 hour, but mostly 2-hour delivery time windows. And part of the structure of selecting a time window is that there's a specific cutoff time. So we communicate to the customer, if you're going to select this particular time slot, then you need to either place your order or complete all your modifications prior to the cutoff time, which might be, say, 6 p.m. the night before. And so here's an example of the time slot selection screen that FreshDirect currently uses. And you'll see that we offer the next 7 days. And what you see here are some slots that may be sold out, some that are available. Sold out tends to happen, of course, more likely for the next day delivery. And then we also have incorporated something from the scheduler that allows us to show a green leaf indicating eco-friendly, which basically means that if you as a customer select that time slot, the truck won't have to travel any additional distance to reach you, which essentially means that you're selecting a time slot that perhaps your neighbor has already selected. And that's right now it's sort of a voluntary way for customers to select something that may be good for us because we have a more efficient route, and it's good for them if they are doing something to keep us from driving more distance. So a little history too with FreshDirect. Before we had the RoadNet scheduler, we had the same time slot setup, but we had to manage capacity statically, which really meant that we had to come up with an estimate for how many deliveries would fit in each particular time window. And that is based on an average expected travel and service time combined. So for each time window, you would see a capacity that's pretty much equal every time, depending on the length of the time window. And some of the downsides is that every order is treated the same. We didn't have a way to, because the capacity is determined in advance, we don't have a way to consider the location, size, or difficulty of the order in terms of its impact on capacity. And what you see is that if you look across the entire day, the average works pretty well, but if you look at the detail on the time window level, if you have one large order, it can basically ruin your schedule. If you have that large order early in the route, and you're fully booked with your time, then you may never recover from running late in an early window. And then the other thing that can happen is if the deliveries are smaller or faster than expected, then you have capacity that you could have added more orders to, but you weren't able to anticipate that happening, so you had to leave it open. So now with RoadNet Scheduler, we're computing our capacity dynamically. Every time an order comes in, that order is consuming a specific amount of estimated drive and service time, and we're also, the optimization happens every time an order comes in. So the actual capacity in each time window may change. You may find you have more capacity or less capacity depending on the actual size and location and difficulty of delivery of the orders that come in. So the capacity that you would see for each time window for total orders would be variable, not static. So dynamic capacity is, like I said, service time is determined by order and location. Drive time is determined by the scheduler. And every time an order comes in, the routes are re-optimized. So that also means that they're always in an optimized state. So how did that work out for FreshDirect? Our average on-time performance improved from about 96% to 98.5 and greater percent. Our productivity improved about 7 to 8%, and that really means we have more delivery slots available to customers, which is an extremely important thing for our business, as that's really about our growth. And we were able to lower our delivery cost per order in our core areas, and in addition, expand to suburban areas where you have houses that are farther apart and require more drive time. And so we were able to expand there without largely increasing our costs. So an example is before we had the scheduler and the dynamic management of capacity, we had to create only small delivery areas that the risk or the variation in the size and distance between orders wouldn't have a great big impact on the schedule of the route. After, we could create these large areas to cover, and the scheduler figures it out. So there were some reasons why we chose RoadNet scheduler. One of them was that we have fast optimization. The other is the analyze call gives you a fast yes, no answer, which really is what we need to connect this to a website, because people who are checking out are not really going to be willing to wait 5 or 10 seconds for time slots to get displayed. And then the background optimization is continuously keeping the solution optimized, and so we at the cutoff we can just grab that solution. We don't have any further optimization time. It actually speeds up the process of moving the orders to our production. And so also the web services, they allowed us to do some very interesting things with integrating our systems and having a smooth, well, basically the routing information that's created in the scheduler and RoadNet gets via web services is transmitted automatically to our other systems. And we can generate the driver directions directly from that routing session. If the driver wants printed directions, we can print those out for the route. In addition, RoadNet, the scheduler, has provides some information about the order that the customer is considering. So we know that a particular time slot may be more expensive than another time slot for us to schedule. So we have the opportunity to be selective about what a customer might see. We don't actually do that right now, but it's a possibility. And then there's some additional scheduler features that were attractive to us. The push to RoadNet, continuous optimization, the utilization metrics, being able to use the historical traffic data, and et cetera.